Hello there and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about Brackenhide Hollow, which is one of the brand new dungeons of Dragonflight, and this is continuing my series on the dungeon previews. I'm just going to be taking a look at the dungeon today, and this one is probably one of my favorites. But before we jump into Gnoll and Tuskarr adventures, I just want to shout out my Twitch. If you want to see me stream World of Warcraft, Dragonflight Alpha Beta, Wratheye King, and more, I'm over on twitch.tv/MrGM. Every single day. Okay, so this is the second video in my dungeon series. This is essentially just me kind of running you through the dungeon, telling you the odd bits and pieces. It's not so much a guide, more of just a kind of preview, showing you what to expect when Dragonflight launches. Now, Brackenhide Hollow is a dungeon from the Azure Span. It's a Tuskarr and Gnoll dungeon, and personally, one of my favorites so far. There is still a few dungeons that we haven't seen, but this is definitely one of the best dungeon. So let's just jump into it. This is a pretty open dungeon, to be honest. It's quite open pan. There's a couple routes you can take to take the bosses down. There are 4 bosses in total. Some of them good, some of them not so good, which we'll talk about shortly. But yeah, this is a really cool dungeon aesthetically. There's like underlying fog, and it's just a really cool environment to do a dungeon in. So as we get into the dungeon here, as I said, it is a Gnoll and Tuskarr dungeon. The Tuskarrs obviously being your friends, and the Gnolls not being your friends here. The first task of this first kind of part to open up the first boss is to free some Tuskarr. You need to free 9 in total, and as you can see from the minimap, there's a bunch of them around, so you just got to run to them, open up the cages, they do a little quip as they leave, and then eventually you'll free 9 of them. But as mentioned, there are a few different routes you can take here. The group that we had seemed pretty experienced, so they went down the left-hand route here, but as I said, there is a couple you can take. The trash in this first part is pretty intense. You can definitely overpull from just like them running away and things like that, because they will run away, which is very, very annoying. But you want to look out for abilities like Rage Storm or anything like that. Anytime you see them spinning or casting something, you really want to kind of just run away from that, and it can get really out of control, as mentioned, with the Gnolls running away in fear, as Gnolls do, and they'll run into the next pack and then the next pack, and you're just attacking things forever. But you can be pretty coordinated. But as you can see in this first pull, we did actually end up pulling some more right after, but it is manageable. The scaling on the alpha is a little bit easy at the minute. You also got to watch out for the green goo on the floor. This will happen a lot. They have this kind of decay magic, which just does green goo all over the floor, so just keep an eye out for that. Not too difficult at all, though. So yeah, basically just take out the packs. Take out the packs of Gnolls. Work your way north towards the first boss while opening the Tuskarr cages. As mentioned, just got to open 9. It's not too difficult at all. Just after this kind of first little section, you get to this bridge area where it can get pretty messy. I'm pretty sure we did wipe here. Yeah, we did. And we did kind of regroup after that. But yeah, it can get pretty messy there. If you go under the bridge, you will pull the NPCs on top of the bridge. So yeah, it's a little bit of coordination, but you know, it's my first time in this dungeon. I think a lot of the people in here, it was their first time. Also, I spec'd into Barrage, and so did Preach, and we ended up just pulling loads and loads of stuff accidentally, because the range on Barrage is like absurdly huge. To be honest, we were just kind of trolling at this point. But as mentioned, like the trash isn't too bad, in all honesty. But yeah, just kind of like interrupt some of the NPCs here and stuff, so they're not just casting constantly. Not too difficult at all, but as mentioned, just really fairly simple trash, and some things just to avoid as you get through them. As we continued on, I actually found a decayed cauldron. Now this is really cool. This is actually, to activate this, you needed Dragon Isle's alchemy, so it looks like a lot of the profession stuff is coming back in Dragon Isle. Throughout some of these dungeons, you will kind of see little buffs and things like that, which are activated through having a profession, as opposed to having a covenant in Shadowlands. So this is really cool to see. Unfortunately, no one had alchemy, so we couldn't activate it, but yeah, I'm sure it's a really great buff and very handy for sure. As mentioned, we just kind of carried on, killed a lot of trash, and opened up all the Tuskarr cages, and this unlocked the first boss, which is a group of 3 Gnolls called Gashtooth, Hackclaw, and Hacktotem. Now, this boss seemed pretty uninspired, honestly. It's just kind of 3 NPCs, you just AoE'd them down. There's some abilities to avoid. Gnashtooth is going to do Gnash Frenzy, which is going to cause him to kind of run around and backstab people, just in, you know, randomly. And with the Totem guy, we need to just keep him interrupted, making sure they don't get off that Earthbolt too much. Hackclaw is going to do Blade Storm as well, so you just want to run out from that. You don't want to get hit by that, because that is going to suck, obviously. And there's also a healing ability that Trick Totem will do as well, which you need to interrupt, otherwise it's just going to heal the other Gnolls. But also, as well, if a totem spawns, you just got to focus on the totem, of course, because that is going to hex one of your party members. But a fairly simple fight overall. It looks like once you kill one of them, they do get enraged, but it's not like you know, the end of the world. You can see here that Rhea Gnashtooth did take out someone there, but again, pretty easy to manage. We just kind of took them down fairly easy here, and Gnashtooth and the gang all go down, and the first boss is completed. And the door opens up. This is a really cool animation. I really love this. As the dungeon expands, the door opens up from the first boss into the second area, where you're going to work towards the next boss, which is actually called Treemouth, and you'll see why in a moment. As you see, as we come into this area here, we're going to kind of a bit of more open area once again. Not a ton of trash in this first bit, but then you do find a lot of trash after that. A lot of like neutral trash as well, like the wild lashes, so you try not to pull them in, but they are non-elite, so you can just take them down pretty easy. But yeah, you could do some pretty wacky pulls. This is going to be absurd in Mythic Plus, being able to take out all of these NPCs all at the same time. You'll see a new NPC here as well called Wilted Oak. This is the kind of bigger NPC. You want to kind of focus that down while taking out all the lashes and things like that. Because we're getting into the Treemouth area, the NPCs do change in relation to the second boss, which is really fun. So just avoid the stomp on the Wilted Oak and just continue on here, just AoEing everything down. Lots of AoE here. Not a lot of single target in this dungeon at all, even with the first boss there obviously being a kind of AoE based fight. But as you continue up the hill, you're just going to take down more of these Wilted Oak NPCs, and that'll bring you out to the second boss, which is called Treemouth. Very creative name, because as you can see, he's a tree with a giant mouth. Yep. Pretty cool, pretty fun. Now, the tactic here basically is don't get eaten. Don't get eaten by Treemouth. He's going to munch you down and probably kill you, more than likely. So, Treemouth, this is another fight I didn't think was massively great. We are on Heroic, as mentioned, so I think a lot of the fights will be a lot better on Mythic and a lot longer as well. You can see he does a decay spray. That's just a swirly on the ground there that is going to target someone and spawn those blobs. You're just going to take those out nice and easy. They do Gushing Ooze. Just AoE them down nice and simple. It's not quite the first boss of Plagueful where they're just going to be absorbed by Treemouth. They just kind of run over and take everyone down as much. Then you're going to get Grasping Vines. You're going to run away from that. You don't want to be dragged in there because he will take someone down. That he did munch down Toxic Stream here. Not too sure what happens when you get eaten, I'll be honest. To be honest, he's taking a bit of damage, but not massive amounts. But it's very rinse and repeat here. You just want to take out the oozes. You want to just avoid being dragged in and then get eaten, I suppose. I don't know if he ran into getting eaten or it's just random. I don't really know what happens there. But as mentioned, I think this fight is going to be a lot better on a harder difficulty. But that's essentially Treemouth. There. You get eaten by a tree. He's got a big mouth. It's really great. So then we're going to move on to this third boss. So we're going to move into the kind of like trash before the third boss here. And the third boss is called Gutshot. Now, we're going to go back to killing Gnolls. Once again, this is where the dungeon becomes a little bit more linear. Not so much creativity in the routes you can take here. You're going to take out some of these kind of like named NPCs. You have Stink Breath here, which is kind of a diseased Gnoll. You can see he's got kind of a green shade to him, which is really cool. A lot of the aesthetic of this dungeon is really cool as well. There's so many NPCs spawned around that you're just not going to bother killing or doing anything with, but you will see them. As you can see, I do a barrage here, which is going to bring everybody in here, but we have a bit of fun with it and we just take down everybody nice and easy. Want to watch out for that Violent Whirlwind again, you know, kind of an ability you see quite a lot in this dungeon, and Gut Stabber as well. And these Gut Stabbers will kind of do the abilities similar to the previous boss, just kind of like pop up and give you a little backstab there, but not too bad. There's a couple of NPCs you can avoid here as well, including like hyenas and things like that. And yeah, as mentioned, there's going to be a lot of skips and things here that you're going to be able to do once this hits Mythic Plus, or once this hits even Mythic difficulty. You're going to be skipping quite a lot of ads, more than likely. But as mentioned, there's a lot of just kind of aesthetic NPCs here, which I really do like, actually. I think it kind of builds out the environment and makes it feel like more of a kind of lived-in area as opposed to like a dungeon. So yeah, just lots and lots of trash heading up the hill towards the third boss, which is Gutshot. Gutshot is a Gnoll, just a single target fight. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. He drops a lot of traps, and he'll call some hyena ads as well. So you're going to bring in the hounds there, you're going to see them running in, and we're just going to AoE them down as quickly as possible. Not too much of an issue here. You see he's going to do an ensnaring trap, which will throw to my location. You just move out of that, and you'll see that drop on the ground. As mentioned, do not run into that. We had a theory that maybe the point of this fight is to run the hyenas through the traps or something like that, but it is heroic, so we weren't 100% sure on that, or run him through the traps. Not too sure. The traps kind of just sat there and didn't do a lot, so we took him out pretty quick. Maybe we skipped some abilities as well, but he will just call the hyenas, throw traps, and that is essentially the fight, and also do an ability called Gutshot, which I think is just going to bounce someone back. But for the most part, very, very easy fight, really not much to it. But as mentioned, I think there is a bit more to it. We just maybe took him out too quickly or just kind of avoided the tactics there, so not too sure on Gutshot, to be honest, but not my favorite fight at all. So now as we move on, we're going to head towards the last boss. This is Wratheye, and this is where it kind of opens up a little bit more. Still kind of a linear kind of journey towards this boss, as mentioned. A lot kind of like, you know, freedom in this dungeon is more in the beginning part, of course. But you'll see, like, there's a lot of NPCs here. This is where you really got to be careful with the running away in fear, and really be careful with your AoEs as well. As you can see, we do barrage here, and it does kind of bring in a few more. What we did decide to do, just for funsies, we actually decided to kind of pull the entire room here just to see the kind of reality of the situation. There was a lot of NPCs, but some of them were non-elites, so we were curious if we could actually just pull them all. Unfortunately, we didn't. There was some kind of like a lot of abilities going off, a lot of decay totems and things like that we just couldn't get on top of. So unfortunately, we didn't manage to get everybody, but we got a lot of them. We got a lot of the NPCs in this thing and ran back. This is also where we discovered that there is a checkpoint as such. You will respawn just where Treemouth is, and you just have to kind of run up that bridge and run up that hill again, just like Kate Bush, and then get back to the ads. But as mentioned, we took down the ads pretty quickly, and you want to head inside this cave. Just some more ads that kind of look like the boss. You're just going to avoid all these kind of like big circles and things like that. Nothing really too much to worry about, to be honest, with these ads. But as mentioned, it's heroic. It was easy. So I think like once we see this on a harder difficulty, there's definitely going to be some more things to worrying about. But as mentioned, this is not a guide. This is just me kind of rambling on about my experience in the dungeon. We did do a fairly big pull here with these fetid rot singers. There was also some patrols that we were trying to avoid as well, and we seem to do pretty well with that. A lot of totems in this one, so just keep an eye out for decay totems and things like that. When they pop up, you just want to focus on those as soon as they come along. But yeah, here we go. We went into the last boss, which is the Decatriarch Wratheye. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. Just for that boss, we actually had some camera issues, but also a lot of trash, which we could just very, very simply AoE down. Wasn't too much of an issue at all. Similar sort of abilities to some of the other NPCs, just some green blobs on the floor, nothing too much to worry about. We kind of took those down nice and easy, and that took us to the last boss, as mentioned, Decatriarch Wratheye. Now, this boss isn't too bad. It's a pretty small boss area, to be completely honest. It is a very, very, very small boss area. Now, it doesn't look like it before you pull, but once you do pull, there's kind of a gas cloud or a decay cloud behind you, so it does make the area a lot smaller. You're going to want to avoid this green swirly thing running around the room here, so a lot of movement is required for this fight, although it does seem very much on rails in the regards to where it goes and what it does. It's not chasing anyone or anything like that. It'll also be kind of decay strike, which you want to avoid, and there's also totems, a rot bust totem. That totem needs to go down as quickly as possible, because that is going to wipe your dungeon. So here, you're just avoiding a lot of the stuff, just avoiding the green thing on the floor, killing the totem, and taking out the boss. Now, the boss doesn't actually die. The boss just kind of teleports away. We probably will see Decatriarch Wratheye back at some point during Dragonflight. But that is the dungeon. That is the Brackenhide Hollow dungeon, the Tuskarr and Gnoll dungeon. Very fun, very cool. Really looking forward to seeing this on higher difficulties and Mythic Plus and things like that. But yeah, let me know down below, guys. Let me know what you think of Brackenhide Hollow. As mentioned, one of my favorite dungeons of Dragonflight so far, but we do have a few left, so yeah. And let me know if you want me to continue these dungeon videos. I really like doing them. I think they're casual, they're fun. And yeah, we just get to show off the dungeon a little bit, and I get to chat to you guys about my experiences. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. Before I go, I'd like to give a massive shout out to my amazing patrons, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subs. You guys are awesome. And if you'd like to support the channel in any of those ways, links are down below. So leave a like on this video, guys, if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't. I've also got a partner Discord channel with over 3,000 members. And as I said, I'm now streaming on twitch.tv/MrGM. If you want to see me stream World of Warcraft, Dragonflight Alpha Beta, Wrath Lich King, any sort of World of Warcraft, this is where the footage came from. It actually came from streams. So if you want to see more of that, guys, I'm over on twitch.tv/MrGM every single day. And with that, guys, I'll see you next time.